Assalamualaikum and good evening. You're now with me, Yusuf Shukri, for TVS Nightline. We begin with this story. A total of 76 new school construction and upgrade projects worth 4.53 billion ringgit is underway or in the pipeline across Sarawak in a major push to strengthen the state's education infrastructure. Works Minister Datuk Seri Alexander Nantalinggi says 27 projects have been completed, 25 are currently under construction, while another 24 are in the planning stage. He also reveals both projects implemented by the Public Works Department, JKR, involved a combined cost of more than 37.7 million ringgit.
Yang telah siap termasuk 2 buah sekolah ini, 27 sekolah telah siap dan dalam perancangan masih lagi 24 sekolah ya untuk kita rancang untuk buat kerja-kerja perbaikan ataupun naik taraf pembinaan pelbagai lah. Jadi jangkaan siap projek yang lain itu 7 bilangan di masa bulan Jun ini hingga hujung tahun Disember. Lagi ada 7 buah sekolah. Projek sekarang tengah jalan akan kita jangka siap dengan kos mungkin 223.64 juta ringgit.
The 10.56 million ringgit SMK SARAWAK project was completed 164 days ahead of schedule, while the 27.2 million ringgit redevelopment of SMK Dalat was fully completed on schedule in December last year. Both projects were built using Building Information Modelling (BIM) and the Industrialized Building System (IBS) to ensure higher construction quality, greater efficiency, and better project delivery.
Residents in MIRI are urged to rely on official Sarawak water channels for accurate and up-to-date information regarding the scheduled water supply disruption set to take place on June 10th. MIRI Deputy Mayor Arifin Mohamad says confusion has risen following the circulation of inaccurate information on social media regarding the actual date of repair works.
Berlaku kekeliruan di dalam masyarakat berkenaan dengan tarikh perbaikan pipe. Ada yang mengatakan 8 hari bulan, ada yang mengatakan 10 hari bulan. Oleh yang demikian, saya ingin mengajak ataupun menasihati orang ramai untuk sentiasa mendapatkan maklumat terkini melalui saluran rasmi Sarawak Water bagi mengelakkan kekeliruan serta penyebaran maklumat yang tidak tepat.
Meanwhile, Arifin says Sarawak Water will place several water tanks at strategic locations to ensure residents in affected areas continue to have access to water throughout the disruption period. The public is also encouraged to check the list of water tank locations announced by Sarawak Water to make it easier to obtain water supplies when needed. Additionally, residents are advised against panic buying bottled water, urging them to instead make sensible preparations based on actual needs.
BRICS, an intergovernmental organization comprising 11 major emerging markets and developing countries like Brazil, Russia, India, South Africa, China, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, the UAE and Indonesia, holds a crucial role in maintaining the balance of power and stability in the region. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, who spoke in an interview during the recently held St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, or SPIEF, says BRICS provides opportunities for dialogues essential in mitigating conflicts, especially in war-torn countries.
Simply having a platform for dialogue is important in itself. On May the 15th, in mid-May if I recall correctly, BRICS foreign ministers held a meeting attended by both Iran and the UAE. There was a fairly heated exchange between them, but even so, India, which chaired the meeting, along with other BRICS countries in attendance, worked to find ways of encouraging dialogue between the UAE and Iran. Sooner or later, that dialogue has to take place. We can already see a willingness on the part of several other Arab states, including Saudi Arabia, to engage in such a process. And of course, those who set this whole chain of events in motion have no desire to see closer relations between the Arab states and Iran. In fact, they do not even want to see a normalization of relations. Russia's concept is built around precisely that objective. First and foremost, it calls for non-aggression. Incidentally, Saudi Arabia has recently begun discussing the idea of a non-aggression pact.
Moreover, BRICS could potentially play a role in mediating agreements on transparency in military activities, limitations on military deployments and exercises, as well as other confidence-building measures. Lavrov is optimistic that countries in said region will start working out arrangements that allow all participants to coexist peacefully without fear of military threats.
This is what we advocate, continuing to work toward that goal with our Arab partners.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump calls for Israel and Iran to stop fighting, quote-unquote, immediately in the wake of its tit-for-tat airstrikes. On Monday, he published, quote, Israel and Iran must immediately stop shooting on Truth Social. And early in the day, an Israeli airstrike targeted a petrochemical firm in southwestern Iran, causing partial damage to the industrial complex. Deputy Governor for Security Affairs in Khuzestan Province, Valiola Hayati, states no live casualties were recorded and the losses of assets will be announced once the full inspection is completed. Later during the day, a new wave of explosions occurred in western Tehran, triggering air defense systems in the city. The attack prompted the suspension of flights at Merabat Airport in Tehran and at airports in Kermanshah and Mashdad after Israeli attacks targeted several sites in the country. The suspension covered all flights until further notice. Now, a 7.8 magnitude earthquake in the southern Philippines on Monday killed at least 31 people, according to provincial authorities, after toppling buildings and sparking tsunami warnings across the region. National Disaster Authorities states at least a dozen people were still missing, while 134 had sustained injuries.
Philippine authorities ordered residents in affected coastal areas to move to higher ground after a powerful offshore quake struck south of General Santos City, killing at least 9 people. The quake triggered a series of strong aftershocks, with the largest reaching magnitude 6.5, according to the United States Geological Survey. In General Santos, rescue teams raced against time to search through the rubble of a popular grocery store, where 2 employees remained trapped, tallying the death toll of 14 people who died in Glen municipality after a landslide buried homes at the foot of a mountain.
Back in Malaysia, the government is tightening enforcement against foreigners caught using their passes to run businesses illegally. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim says the move is needed to curb unlicensed trading, a major concern among local merchants.
Kalau peniaga, dia mesti ada pendaftaran perniagaan beralamat tetap. Dia tak boleh umpamanya menumpang di sana sini. Pekerja yang menjual barangan, itu satu ya. Dia guna. Bahayanya ialah digunakan lesen dan permit tempatan.
The Prime Minister says enforcement should go beyond being on the ground, but also online via e-commerce platforms. Additionally, he says multiple agencies will need to work together to crack down on permit abuse and unauthorized businesses run by foreigners. The approach needs more engagement sessions to ensure policies are balanced between humanitarian needs and protecting the local economy. On another development, Anwar also stresses that government components can be represented by all races, regardless of background, in line with democracy and the federal constitution. The Prime Minister says the government must reflect Malaysia's multiracial reality, giving space to various races and political parties, just like the current unity government. Commitment is key, he says, to inclusive governance that truly represents the people's will.
Pimpinan silih berganti, tetapi kerangka dasar yang termaktub dalam perlembagaan itu menjadi pegangan. Itu kalau ikut undang-undang dikata itu yang sabit, bukan yang mana yang prinsip asas kalau ke dalam hukum. Iaitu prinsip-prinsip dalam perlembagaan. Jadi soal siapa yang harus berdamping dengan kita dalam kerajaan, dalam kementerian, dia harus mewakili semua sosok, berbagai kaum, berbagai agama. Walaupun induknya majoriti Melayu.
Meanwhile, on political campaigning, Anwar advises all parties not to go overboard to avoid tension or disrupting social harmony. He adds, religion itself teaches respect for diversity through tolerance and positive assumptions. And the Home Ministry is ramping up enforcement against foreigners misusing social visit passes to run businesses in the country. Minister Datuk Seri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail says the operation will be integrated, involving multiple ministries and enforcement agencies.
Jadi dalam mesyuarat Jemaah Menteri hari Jumaat baru ini, semua agensi penguatkuasa yang bertanggungjawab, termasuklah KPKT, KPDN, Kementerian Perdagangan Dalam Negeri, termasuklah KDN, Kementerian Kewangan, kesemuanya itu diarah supaya menjalankan penguatkuasaan segera.
Among the cases detected, he revealed, were foreigners entering Malaysia on social visit passes, but running businesses like stalls, restaurants, resorts, and other trade or service activities without valid permits. Saifuddin stresses that the government does not plan to create a new task force to tackle this matter. Thus, existing agencies and laws are sufficient. He also says the ministry has identified several hotspot locations where foreigners congregate, with continuous monitoring through internal mapping. On another note, any upcoming issuing of the MyCard and passport will still use the older format, as contrast to a new version rollout that was implemented starting June 1st. This, he says, is to avoid wastage. Get all the updates you need all in one app. TVS Inspire brings you live updates on events, news and programs. Available now on the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. TVS Inspire, world on your screen, anytime, anywhere. And those are the updates on TVS Nightline. Thank you for watching. Good night and Assalamualaikum.